second, folks. Okay. All right. Test, test. Okay, we're getting ready. Getting ready. Getting ready. Getting ready. And it's 4 o'clock on a Friday on the West Coast. 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Hello, hello, everyone. It is sunlight on chaos. Sunlight on chaos. All right. Well, this is a strange Friday. Freaky Friday. Um, I sort of got a psychic wallop today. Threw me back a number of notches, but I find it's very analogous to what is also going on in the wider world today. Um, so, thank you all for coming, and I'll just dive right into it. And forgive me because this threw off my schedule today. But you'll know why in a little bit. And we have some news today, but I just want to stay focused on the bigger pictures today. But in any event, let me start with a little topic sentence here today. So I just made about a half $1,000 today, and but I also just about lost a half $1,000. So I'll get into it in a little bit, but it has to do with standing up for myself, and that's the only reason I made it back, shall we say? So, in any event, I think I said this the other day that I did want to talk about evil. So because it's sort of rearing its ugly head today. Um, and I'm just going to read. I like Random House as a dictionary. Sometimes I like to look up one word and just remind myself of what it says. I'll just whip through it. Random House defines evil as morally bad, wicked, or depraved, causing harm, pain, or misfortune, or in a broader sense, anything that brings suffering or is considered detrimental, encompassing sin, corruption, destruction, as well as misfortune and evil intent. Right? So there's the morally wrong, which includes corrupt behavior, right? Harmful, causing pain, trouble, injury, disaster, like Snap was doing. Misfortune, psychological evil, a profound lack of empathy. So I'm going to attribute a lot of that to Trump today. Trump, the clump, the chump. I don't know why people don't call him a chump in public. In any event, I've got two computers going on today, and I'm just trying to see if some other computer comes on. We'll find out. Doesn't matter. Anyway, have the chat box up. A couple of little stupid, crazy things like not small, but the college graduate job outlook is they're saying it's like the worst in 5 years. Okay. And then Trump's gone into this whole thing the other day and today about, well, it's been going on for a few days about where he's saying, like, yeah, we need to get more talented people in here in this country, on the H1 B visas, okay, which is this, crazy deal for $100,000. And he said, what did he say? He said that uh, there's not enough talented people in the country, for some of the engineering jobs and some of the super high tech jobs. So just come out and say that, that's nice. I wonder how these graduates feel. Well, where are we? We're in November. God knows what they've been doing all year, or some of them, graduate mid-year or any time of the year. As far as their job outlooks, when he's talking about the the visa, the new, the visas, and wonder how that makes them feel. Anyway, we need to get more talented people in here. America first, whatever that meant. Um, so he's also another thing he's been pummeling along with is now he's going after U.S. Representative Eric Swalwell in the 14th District of California. He's just the next in line in the DOJ, where they're slapping this same old alleged mortgage fraud scam investigation, quote unquote. And you know what? Swalwell, I love this guy, Eric Swalwell. He's so undisturbed and undeterred by it. And he's like, look, I have one mortgage, and I travel back and forth between California and Washington, so he's like, he's just not interested. And he's like, he's not going to let Trump bother him. He's like, fuck this guy. So anyway, it's just he's trying to do it. And this is going to play into later what I want to get into, which is just so bombastic today. So that sham ongoing investigation, trickery, is going to go nowhere with him as well. And, his other investigations, with Schiff and Letitia James, they're going to go nowhere. They're going to get squashed. I'd be shocked if they weren't, put it that way. And of course, the stock market is going up and down. It's not perfect. And people are talking about AI now. Oh, now it's so weird how these cycles go. Like now they're going to talk about AI is how fragile it's as fragile as it was in April. They're saying so. It's booming along like .coms turn of the century. So we'll see. We'll see. Be careful with your AI and don't let it get all into all of your stuff too much. Don't play with it too much because it'll play with you. It already has. It's already screwing up young kids across the country. It's unleashed. I'm actually looking at news clips today, and it's already infecting like news clips. It's like pasting, boobs on people and different things. And it just I'm looking. I'm like, wait, what is that? And it's like, no, that's not real. That's not real, and that's not real because it's impossible for those things, certain things, to be real. So at least we still have reason and intellect, right? And we can tell. But so many people will so quickly believe things that they look at and they'll think it's real. Well, don't believe everything you see, but certainly you can believe, well, even what you hear too, right? And they can do that too. So, yeah, let me get back to this thing today, and then I'll get back to the evil thing. Also, just concerns about Venezuela. They just keep ramping up closer and closer to Venezuela. I think the really weird thing that would happen is if they start taking strikes inside the country, like on their land. It's one thing to get all the ships in the area and blow up the, alleged still cargo boats. But if they start taking shots at the land, it's going to get crazy. And the UK is already not, I said that yesterday, is not sharing a lot of intelligence with us right now. Right down to just something else that flies through the, stratosphere. They're not able to detect because they're keeping, it's like a construction cover up. How's this? There's like a, when you're tearing down old buildings like the East Wing at the White House, for years we all maybe have heard about asbestos, right? And I deal with it at some points. I've done contracting for on and off for years, and there was asbestos in there, and they're noticing that they're not doing the visible. It's not visible, the right type of prep that they're supposed to be doing for that. So really, and are they going to get in OSHA and or the EPA and when you have the Senate, the House, and the White House, and isn't it interesting how these groups and departments just don't come racing in? So I'm going to save one note for later, but these are just it's all about this manhandling crap. So in any event, so something happened to me today. I got up and I got to open a letter from my bank, and they're like, yeah, you thought there was something that I won't say who it is, but there are these groups, recruiting groups, and sometimes I'll use them to find either handyman for some jobs that I do where I need help on certain things if I'm still doing any of that work anymore, or even my IT guy for this. I went to one of these services, and I've used them before, but they're like, oh yeah, they incorrectly charged you like $500,000 roughly a month ago for something, and they're like, oh yeah, no, they're still charging you another 500,000 for something else. And I said, nope, I know what it is, and that's garbage. It's wrong. And they're like, well, we have their like inside number. I'm like, really? Because their customer service number is non-existent. And I don't want to go into the weeds about this because this is really easy to go into the weeds. But I dated a couple of lawyers, and they taught me to hang tough. And when it got into the weeds, so I'm like, no, no, no. So I called up this company, a multi-million-dollar company, cracking $1 billion. So it's me against $1 billion. All right, $1 billion company. So got on the phone, got into a huge argument about it. I'm like, you got to be kidding. You have to put A, B, and C together because you just don't you see this? You guys had a glitch in your software, okay? And this is why this and this and this happened. It's obvious. I'm like, what do you want me to do about this? I can't on my end. It was your problem on your end. So they kept fighting me and fighting me. And I put the piece of puzzle together, and this woman she stopped talking because she didn't know how to answer my line of reasoning anymore. And but then she kept reading, trying to go back to a script and read stuff. I'm like, get off the script. I'm like, listen, do you want? And then I had to pull out the big guns, And I was like, okay, do you want me to take this to CNN? You want me to go there? Because I'll go to CNN, MSNBC. I'll go. I'll go next week. No problem. I'll go Monday. Is this what you want? You want this stain on your company? You want me to out you guys for not taking responsibility about this? So in any event, she said, let me talk to the manager. It's like 5 minutes. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to keep myself busy. Da, da, da. She comes back. She's like, yeah, I have to go to upper management. So I need another 5 or so minutes to go to them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to get better or worse. Either it's going to come through, or they're going to cut me off of the knees. And so she came back and she said, okay, you owe like $48 on this. And I said, yeah, I know that. I know that. That's what I've been telling you for the past 25 minutes. And she's like, but we'll refund the other, $4,500 or whatever, roughly. And so I was like, oh, so this lesson today for me was, you know what? And I was ready to throw it in and just hang up the phone, being put on hold twice and manager this and that. I'm like, no, you know what? You know what? Hold on, because just enough information is out there now that she had to take to middle management and then upper management. Had to go 2 steps. And she came back. She said, okay, we're going to refund you this other money and you'll get it in a few days. And I was like, huh. And I called my bank back, and I said, okay, they're going to refund it. And the bank's like, yeah, we already see that they're going to do a transaction. So we're going to close this case. And so happy early Thanksgiving to me. So this is really about when things look grim. And I couldn't believe it. I knew this had happened a while back with the same company, which is even creepier, like 2 months ago. And I had to figure it out with them. And then it happened again, and they tried to slide it through this time. And I was like, wait a second, my bank account's looking lower than it was. And I'm like, don't tell me, oh, how insidious, how sneaky, how insidious. They're doing it again. They're trying it again. It's a long story, but that's the size of it. And they relented. I said, I know what you guys are doing, and you know what you're doing, and your system's screwed up. So stop. So I had to back up $1 billion company today and literally tell them how to figure out how they screwed it up. How do you do that? I don't even know how I did that. How did I do that? I don't know. Hey, I'll take the $5,000. Jackasses. So, so anyway, I mean, have you guys run into this, right? Where you've really had to hang in there, right? And stick with it, right? So you just do that, and send a chat. The chat box is up, and let me know if anybody's gone through. Just say I have or something, or put a note in there, or about anything as brief as you want of what it had to do with or something. So there's some weird news. This is why I went over the evil thing today, and It has to do with all this stuff I always go over about the House of Representatives and the senators and how we can get in touch with them. And I went after a lot of them with Snap, okay, and then that just that's finally getting that in order. But that happened for other reasons. But I still called in anyway about it. But now they're so now it's the vote about Epstein, the Epstein files. Excuse me. Um, Supposed to go up next week. So I started calling. Who did I call? I got through to, let's see, where is this? I just called Ohio, a Republican rep in Ohio, second district, David Taylor. And first, I gave my first and last name because they'll eventually figure it out. They wanted the zip code. I didn't give it, and he said, "Well," I said, "Will you still send in my note about will David Taylor vote to release the Epstein files?" And they're like, the assistant was like, "Yes, I'll send it." The point is, hopefully he will. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But it's on his conscience, no matter what. You hope the young assistants have a conscience more than the other guys, the older ones, in office. But so he said he would. But it'll build up, and if more people keep calling, he'll keep getting more calls about that. So I just called him outright and got through. Now, Mr. Little Jim Jordan, who some of you might know, the little snotty little biatch who always wears a light shirt with a yellow tie a lot of times a yellow tie. And he's always like, that. It doesn't wear a jacket or a blazer even much. He's always like this, and he's always like got his sleeves rolled up, like way up. Way up here. He's like, I'm ready to go to work. Like, he wants to look like such the badass worker. But he's such a smart ass. But I'm like, ooh, he's in Ohio. Jim Jordan, jackass, in the 4th district. So I called and left a message. So, and then it's like, or you can leave an email. And then it was like, oh, leave an email. So then I wrote this email. And I wrote, "Hello, Representative Jordan. I'm sure that you know that it is the right thing to do to sign the discharge petition next week to release all of the DOJ files, not the ones from the estate, on Jeffrey Epstein next week. Thank you for doing what is right." And then they're like, no. They're like, you could go to his, go online to jimjordan.house.gov. Then I went to the site because I'm sorry. Yeah. I had to do that. They directed me that way. And they said they would only accept an email if I was in his district. Okay. So sometimes you run up against these because probably so many people dislike him. I'm so polite all the time. People hate him, this guy. So he knows. And that then they'll just, who knows what they'll do in his district. But then I tried one more, and not to go on about this, but I just kept running down the list. I got this other representative in the 5th district, and I got there Robert Latta in Ohio also. I circle the Repubs in red, and I just go straight down the list. Bang, 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 bang. I only had so much time today because of this other computer cyber glitch with this company. Robert Latta. And so I asked them questions as I go, and I said, so there was an assistant, a young woman, and I said, "Oh, hi." She's like, "Yeah," and I said, "Hi, it's Stephen," and she's Stephen Olivieri. Because if you do email them, they might catch your email of who you are or not. Mine's Stephen Olivieri Mac.com. I shouldn't have said that. That's one of my emails. My main one is Stephen@sunlightonchaos.com. That's where you want to put all of this type of stuff. Don't worry about the other one. But I did ask her, and you could trip them up. You just have to know how and when you want to trip them up or be ready. Have a list, first name, last name, zip code. And I asked her, because I was calling her, and I said, does my area code show on your incoming system screen when it comes in? And she said, oh, yeah. And I asked her, I played sort of stupid, and I said, "Oh, really? Well, what is it?" Like, I don't know my own area code, right? And she goes, 323. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's it." And I thought, okay, so now they know I'm calling from California. Grew up in New York. And so I thought, you know what? Even better. Even better, Ohio. We're calling from everywhere. We're calling from California, New York, everywhere. Take New Jersey, any state. So to put the pressure on these guys for next week to release the DOJ, the bigger files. All right. So, but something is changing because Trump is getting some advice from somebody. Like he's finally listening to somebody trying to bang his door down and say, you have to turn the tables. You're getting boxed in. And I believe he's still going to get boxed in, but I'll play this clip. But I will, sorry. I should do one. Let me do one before. Let me do one about tariffs first, because just to get that out of the way. All right. Let me just get tariffs out of the way because, and then I'll get to the big one. Don't worry. I'll get there. This one, pardon me. It's nice to drop stuff. Let's see. This one is about tariffs. And it just shows that, that they're backing up. They're backing off some tariffs. So isn't it so obvious? I knew this was going to happen, that they were going to back off eventually on some tariffs. So doesn't it just show that because he doesn't know what he's doing and he's a wild cat jackass, that now they're, well, listen to the clip. I'll let the clip speak for itself. Just bear with me. Okay.
If you're somebody who's been playing for a while and you're struggling, you don't know how to get from where you are to where you want to go, we've created the Guitar Zoom.
Well, the government shutdown may be over, but the demand for food is rising as Thanksgiving quickly approaches. Today, the Trump administration announced a series of trade deals that backtrack on certain tariffs that affect the U.S. food supply. Christian Cordero has the details from Washington, D.C.
Today, with prices rising on certain foods, the Trump administration is easing some tariffs on Latin American countries that produce much of what we consume.
This is primarily, food and agriculture products that we simply don't make.
Okay, so, he said it best, right? On products like coffee that we make very little, like 1% to 2%, 3%. I don't know. So they now have to backtrack and pay some of the importers back. Will we get paid back for, I've already paid enough for coffee lately. Do I get it? I get a few bucks back. So I just had to share that one because now that's starting to creep out, like the asbestos that nobody's talking about near the East Wing, and I'd like to see if they're just wearing regular masks or N90 masks or, full apparatus, ones that look like gas masks, those. So if you see any footage, see what kind of masks they're wearing, if any, because then they're just all crazy and stupid over there. Well, okay, we'll find out that. We'll see what kind of masks they wear over there. Then it doesn't matter what masks you're wearing anyway, right? Shall I back up? It matters that they're probably not, mitigating the asbestos the way they should be. But I will not digress about that anymore. Okay, so here's the drag. And let me get this clip in order. There's something that I was telling you, some bigwig friend of Trump's is like, he's like, you got to turn around the Epstein thing. It's getting too close and too hot. And so what happens? He said, you know what? Just turn it around. Turn it around. And let's see. Show you. This is the bad, weird news, and hopefully we can get around this. Now, I say this because I thought I was going to be dashed out of $5,000 today. I seriously, I'm going up against this monster company. And it's just, they keep trying to hustle me down. And, it's not like I was in a courtroom with my attorney against them and their attorney. I had to hustle it out just by my little lonesome, you know? So here's what happened just a few hours ago. There we go.
Epstein. Multiple
Let me
sources
back up.
telling
Let me
CNN
back
that
up. Hold
Donald
on. Oh, there we go.
Attorney General Pam Bondi has chosen a prosecutor to investigate people and companies associated with Jeffrey Epstein, quickly obeying a public request from President Donald Trump. Bondi writes this, quote, "Thank you, Mr. President. SDNY U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton is one of the most capable and trusted prosecutors in the country, and I have asked him to take the lead," end quote. That in direct response to this announcement from President Trump, which came less than 4 hours before. The president wrote this, quote, "I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions."
Okay. So, how's that for a little bit of a bombshell, Friday bombshell? We can all suck on that over the weekend. So the thing is, why is it a bombshell? Okay. The problem is that it's out of the blue. It must have been his friend that was talking to him. A friend advised him to do this because, at least in this crappy administration, this morally malevolent administration, they will do anything out of protocol, out of the norms. There is no protocol for anything anymore. There are no norms. The only norms are his norms that he sets up, which is like BS, 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 bullshit all the way across. That's the norm. Okay. So the problem is that in reversing this, and with Pam Bondi, when the DOJ, it's like it's on itself. The DOJ, when Trump says set up an investigation, now they're going to say that the DOJ can't release the Epstein files because they're going to put it under a criminal investigation of the DOJ investigating freaking Bill Clinton and Larry Summers and JP Morgan, whatever. I mean, these things are like non-entities. Everybody knows Bill Clinton wasn't involved. He knew Epstein and then got away from him. You know, he didn't go to that island. I really want to investigate that island. And just collecting all my notes. And with the DOJ, if they're going to set up a criminal investigation of those kind of people and groups, then they'll try to say, oh, well, we can't release the 40, 100,000 other completely separate documents that the DOJ has control over of the other Epstein files. So this is throwing everything into a tailspin over the weekend, I guess. We're going to have to see how this plays out. But, here I am talking to you guys. And look, we still have to do this. Apply pressure. And they have to go. They're going to go for the vote. They're going to push the vote. I mean, unless we see Johnson all of a sudden get up there and say, can't have a vote now because now it's under investigation. What's the point of a vote? Anyway, I'm sure they're going to push extremely hard now. You see what happens tonight, tomorrow, throughout the weekend, whatever. Because without that, then it's like it gets stopped. So it's just another bombshell. But just like I had to deal with today, we keep pressing forward. We have to keep pressing forward. And I'm sure the Dems will press forward, and once they see this vote, they have to at least get the vote. People are going to show their hands. And if like 100 Republicans vote to release it, and they can, get the Senate over, I know that's a big hurdle there too, but God forbid they can push this into a double supermajority, which is veto proof. A supermajority, 2/3 in each house, is veto proof. But then they have to get that. Will people backtrack in light of this information today? We're going to find out. But I'm sure if somebody has an opinion and they have some morality and they stick with it, like the 4 Republicans that stuck on the discharge petition and they didn't waver, which was great. And let's hope all of these other 100 Republicans get on board and start pushing this old man back. And you have to ask yourself, why is he trying to turn this around? All it does is it keeps underscoring what is he trying to hide. It's like a bad movie. It's like, oh, he's doing something else to try to hide it. And he said something on going to Epstein's Island. So he said at one point, I'm backing up here a little bit. He said, oh, yeah, and I turned it down. So first of all, you don't even know if that's a lie because he could just say that he didn't go, and maybe they got in there and took out some of the flight records. Imagine that. Imagine if they do that. And he said, oh, I turned it down. But he knew Epstein well enough to know that there was an island and some crazy crap was going on the island. And then he even turned it down. So it must have been so weird on that island and so bad. So he knew enough to turn it down, even though he's been friends with him for 10 years. Enough to believe any of this? No, of course not. So I just, it's like Venezuela, asbestos, this, every day. So, but this is just a nasty one that I think looks like a really nasty bombshell, and it's really, really sneaky. But just like he's gonna have to, his MAGA base is really pissed at there's a big backlash on the H-1B visas, where he said we don't have good enough people. Can you imagine the MAGA backlash? Forget us. Dems and independents who are, already are like, no, there are great engineers here. And even, what's her name? Laura Ingraham. She's like, what are you saying? So she had to catch him, basically. Like, no, we have good people. What are you talking about? Don't talk shit. We have the most brilliant people in the world. And I guess he's like, well, we want more. So in a way, it's like, you might as well be calling the MAGAs like, dumb people. Are they intellectually deplorable? Like, what are you doing? So he's gonna get killed on by the MAGA backlash on that. And then the Epstein thing, he's trying to turn that crap around. It's only gonna add. Let me see if I can beat all the late night. Oh, it's Friday. They're not live tonight, the late night talk shows, because I'm in the afternoon, evening here, and I could just beat a lot of them to the punch on the jokes. Although it's not just, I try to be upbeat about it, try to throw around some jokes, try to have sunlight on the chaos. And it's hard. So this is going to be a good one, but I think that the Dems have to push through, and the Republicans have to just get on that vote next week and stay with the vote in light of this big bombshell bullshit move that he's trying to pull at the last minute. So he needs a left hook at this point. It's unbelievable. So I took a lot of time out of my day today. I was a psychic blast earlier today. Who wants to just lose $5,000 on a technical glitch that's not your fault or my fault? And I managed to get around it. But I harped and I harped and I harped on it. And that's what lawyers do. I should have been a lawyer. Some people say I should have been a lawyer in another life. But I just kept coming at this person. I'll bet she was a lawyer on the other line, because she probably has to deal with a lot of dispute issues. That's the line I called and started getting into it. She was trying to be lawyer-ish about it, lawyerly. And I'm like, nope. And that's the same way everybody's got to be next week with him, with his stupid idea, turning it on. I hope Bill Clinton gets up and says, look, I had enough with Lewinsky. You know that. Trump, you chump. don't try to backtrack on this one. Larry's, I don't think it's Sumner. I think it's Summers. And so he was in finance and economics and everything. He's just an older man, whatever. But whatever. And JP Morgan. Okay. And what about, who even knows if anything even exists there? It's like he's trying to just say, nope, let's look at all of them and forget about me. Man, every day makes everybody think it's got to be bigger than we all think. Forget the little Epstein estate files. I forget if they even had that birthday book, if it was in their files, or DOJ, I think, didn't even have that. But I digress again. It's a mishmash of stuff. But the DOJ files are going to have the things that he doesn't want us to look at. Okay, it was dirty and grimy enough looking just at the estate files. There's a lot. I'm sure some of you have already heard a lot about. They're still sifting through 20,000 documents. It takes a minute to do that. So let's see what happens next week. It's Friday. It's a monsoon-like weekend out here on the West Coast. I hope everybody's doing a little better with the weather, and I hope the air traffic controllers are getting back in order and getting paid, and everybody's getting paid, and the SNAP is getting restarted, and a little bit of sunlight from pressure can start to come back in. And so let's see what happens next week. But I hope all of you guys have as good a weekend as you can possibly have. It is a shorter show today, but like I said, I got backed up on the phone for like an hour, and then I had to do notes after. I had to talk to the bank before that because of a glitch that was of none of my doing. So if I can deal with it and win on it and prevail, let's call this just a little stumble in the road here with this biatch Trump, and get this vote going, and enough of him. So let's all move forward. And you know what? Monday, call. If things are still moving forward, call your representatives in any state. Certainly if you have some Republicans in your own state, and harp on them. Say, vote to release those files. Grimy subject to end on for a Friday, but thanks, guys. And hopefully Monday will be a little brighter. Okay. Take care, and thanks again for watching.